Leo was a brave knight during the daylight hours. He could vanquish dragons made of sofa cushions and cross treacherous lava floors made of red throw rugs without a single flinch. But when his mother turned off his bedroom light at night, his courage seemed to evaporate like a puddle in the Sunday. This was because Leo knew with absolute certainty that a monster lived under his bed. It was not a particularly creative monster. Every night it followed the same routine. First, Leo would hear a low, grumbly snore. Then there would be the soft scritch-scratch of claws on the wooden floorboards. Finally, the monster would let out a long, slobbery slurp. The sounds were not terribly loud, but they were terribly consistent, and they kept Leo awake, his blanket pulled up to his wide, worried eyes. He had tried all the classic anti-monster strategies. He had hidden completely beneath his blankets, creating a stuffy but safe fortress. He had insisted on a nightlight, which cast long, dancing shadows that were almost as scary as the monster itself. He had even tried leaving a peace offering, a plate of carrot sticks with a tiny cup of ranch dressing, but the monster just left a single, muddy footprint on the carpet and grumbled louder. One Tuesday night, lying awake after the third slobbery slurp of the evening, Leo had an epiphany. He was tired of being a victim of monster-related sleep deprivation. If he could not make the monster go away, he would have to become scarier than the monster. He decided to fight fire with fire, or in this case, monster with monster. The next evening, Leo did not put on his soft blue pajamas. Instead, he pulled on his fuzzy green dinosaur costume, the one with the long tail and the hood that had a row of plastic spines. He found a flashlight in the kitchen drawer and practiced holding it under his chin to make spooky shadows on the ceiling. He stood in front of his bedroom mirror and practiced his most ferocious roar. It came out sounding a bit like a squeaky toy being stepped on, but he hoped the costume would sell it. He waited. The room grew dark and quiet. The familiar sounds began. First, the grumbly snore, then the scritch-scratch, finally the slobbery slurp. This was it. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. He took a deep dinosaur costume muffled breath, rolled off his bed and landed on the floor with a purposeful thud. He scrambled to his knees, shoved the flashlight under his chin, pointed it under the bed, and let loose his mightiest roar. Rah! There was a moment of stunned silence. Leo waited for a terrified shriek, for the sound of the monster scrambling away in fear. Instead, two large, glowing yellow eyes blinked slowly at him from the darkness. A deep, rumbly, and slightly annoyed voice spoke. "Hey, you are blocking the view." Leo was so surprised he dropped the flashlight. It rolled away, its beam spinning wildly around the room. The what?" he stammered. "The view," the monster repeated, its voice a gravelly grumble. "I cannot see the show with a giant green thing in the way." Leo turned his head. His bedroom door was open, a crack, and a strip of light from the hallway television was projected onto his wall. His father was in the living room, watching his favorite cooking show, and from this specific angle under the bed, the monster had a perfect, unobstructed view of the flickering images. "You are watching cooking shows?" Leo asked, his brave dinosaur persona completely forgotten. "Sure," the monster grumbled. "It is the gourmet gauntlet. The chef is making a 5-layer chocolate cake tonight. It is very suspenseful. He shifted his weight, and Leo finally got a clear look at him. He was not a slobbery, scaly beast. He was round and covered in shaggy blue fur. He had 2 stubby horns on his head and large, soft-looking feet. He looked like a very grumpy, oversized teddy bear. The name is Grizzle, by the way. You are not scary at all, Leo said, a little disappointed that his grand plan had fizzled so completely. Grizzle looked genuinely offended. I am plenty scary. I do all the classic monster things. I grumble. He demonstrated a low grumble. I scratch. He extended a claw and made a soft scratch on the floorboard. I slurp. He did a particularly wet-sounding slurp. See? Textbook monster behavior. But why? Leo asked, sitting cross-legged on the floor, his dinosaur tail curled around him. Grizzle let out a long, weary sigh that smelled faintly of old jelly beans. Because it is boring under here. Dust bunnies are terrible at conversation. The occasional lost sock is not very exciting. Making a little noise gives me something to do. It breaks up the monotony. All of Leo's fear melted away, replaced by a wave of understanding and pity. The monster was not evil. He was lonely. An idea, far better than his dinosaur plan, sparked in Leo's mind. Do you like stories? Leo asked. What kind of stories? Grizzle asked, his big yellow eyes narrowing with interest. Leo scrambled over to his bookshelf and pulled out his absolute favorite book, The Adventures of Captain Sparklebeard the Pirate. He lay down on his stomach on the rug, his head near the edge of the bed, and began to read aloud. Grizzle was the best audience Leo had ever had. He gasped when Captain Sparklebeard was trapped in a cave of glittering crystals. He chuckled when the pirate's parrot, Petunia, stole a villain's wig. When Leo finished the last page, Grizzle had a huge, happy smile on his furry blue face. That, he declared, was 1,000,000 times better than watching someone bake a cake. Do you have another one? From that night on, Leo and Grizzle had a new routine. Every night after lights out, Leo would lie on the rug and read a story to the monster under his bed. Sometimes, Grizzle would share his secret stash of slightly dusty but still delicious jelly beans. The grumbles, scratches, and slurps stopped completely, replaced by the quiet turning of pages and the occasional shared giggle. Leo learned the most important monster-fighting secret of all. The best way to scare a monster is not with a roar or a costume. The very best way to scare a monster is to be its friend. After all, a monster who is eagerly waiting to hear what happens to a pirate cat is definitely not a monster who is thinking about being scary. He is just a friend who, for reasons of his own, happens to prefer living under a bed.